今天呢，我们请到了我们的 Diet 导师，来自毕业于斯坦福大学的 Juan David Llanos，and 他是我们 Diet 的导师之一，然后毕业于非常顶级的世界名校。今天呢，我们的这个 webinar 呢是我们 Diet 的一个 Mastermind Talk 的项目，所以说我们 Diet 会经常举办类似的在线 webinar，然后会邀请到我们来自世界各地世界顶级的大学毕业的讲师。然后今天我们的这个 webinar 的 topic 是 How I've earned an offer to Stanford。然后在我们开始这场讲座之前，我们对今天的我们的 moderator， 我们 Diet 的 CEO Greg 做一个简短的介绍。Greg Nance 也中文名马千里。Greg 毕业于这个OK，Greg 是我们杜鲁门学者协会的董事会成员，然后他创建了全国非营利性组织 Money Talk， 被奥巴马政府命名为白宫改革之王，被纳斯达克、福布斯、哈佛商业评论、芝加哥论坛报、华尔街日报等众多媒体报道，并且是他在本科期间在芝加哥大学担任学生会主席。在学生时代获得了美国白宫授予的最佳学生领袖创新奖，在剑桥期间获得了盖茨全额奖学金。他也是美国最年轻的杰弗森总统奖获得者。在2017年的时候 ，Greg 受邀参加了2017年世界经济论坛 WEF， 然后同时 ，of course， 他也是我们 Diet 的创始人兼 CEO。Okay, so say hi to everybody.
Hi guys, very excited to moderate with our fabulous featured speaker.
Okay, so now let's move on to the introduction to David. So David 就是我们今天的 speaker。然后 David 毕业于斯坦福大学的机械工程专业，还是拿到了硕士的学位。他同时也是世界第一大石油公司荷兰皇家壳牌集团的工程师。他也曾在领先全球的美国医疗设备公司爱德华生命科学 Edward Life Sciences 担任工程师的职位，还有在佛罗里达大学的研究实习生，并且也曾担任科罗拉多州立大学研究实习生。然后我们的 David 拥有非常多的，以及他在大学申请方面也会有自己的一些分享。So that's basically introduction to our moderator and our speaker, of course. So now, how about just let's move into our presentation and, talk from our David. So David, how about share your screen and let's start the webinar.
Awesome.
Hi, David. Hello?
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, I think we're good.
Let's
All
get
right,
started.
let me share my screen. And then let's start from the beginning. Okay. All right. Hope you all can hear me. Very honored to be a part of this. I've been working with Diet for quite a number of years now, and I've done a few of these, talks and webinars in different.
Sorry to interrupt, David.
Thank you, Greg and Diet. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't think you have shared your screen here.
How are we doing now? It's saying it's sharing, so can you see it or no?
No. Actually, it said you started sharing, but okay, available? No? 大家能看到这个 David share 的屏幕吗？ Please reply yes or no. Whether you can see. Okay, people are saying no. So David, do you mind sharing your screen again?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let's see. No, let me...
Okay.
How about now?
I don't think it's shown.
Saying it's sharing.
Yeah, it said it's sharing here on our side, but it's not.
Okay, we got a Selena Diet says she can see me.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Here we go. Cool. Okay, now we can see
okay.
it, right? Everybody, right? Okay, so yeah, David, you can get started.
All right. Let's see. Okay, hopefully this works. Sorry, everyone. Okay, yeah, as I was saying, really excited to be a part of this. Done a few of these talks, and thank you to Greg and the rest of the team for allowing me to do another one of these. And I can kind of share some of my insights with, how I was able to have the privilege to go to Stanford and complete my master's degree there. So first of all, I'll talk a little bit about this picture since we've got a bit of time, I think. This is actually Stanford's autonomous vehicle that they have. It's an Audi TT vehicle. And so I was proud to be part of a team for a course that I took where we were actually able to program using some basic coding this vehicle to run around a test track. So this is just me back in 2015 with the vehicle in question. So just a really cool opportunity and just one of the many that you could have at a university like Stanford. So let me go on to the next screen. There we go. Okay. So just a little bit about my background, I guess. So I was born in Cali, Colombia, which is in South America, of course. And very early on, I moved to South Florida. So you can kind of see the map in the background. It kind of gives you an idea of where I've been. So I did my Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering at a small school in Southern California in Los Angeles. And boy, let me tell you, it was quite a change going from a mid-sized school of about 5,000 students to a large school at Stanford University, which is 20,000 plus. And you have even bigger schools here, of course, in the U.S. and in other countries. But anyway, I did my Master of Science at Stanford in Mechanical Engineering, and my focus was on energy systems and with a sub-focus on combustion sciences. And so you could imagine kind of how that interweaves with a lot of the growing energy issues that we have right now in the world. With Silicon Valley, which is close to Stanford, being a sort of a hotbed of technology, especially the trend to go green. And currently right now, I know we kind of went over some introductions and I heard a little bit about my background. I currently work in Texas here, so you'll see the map. It's kind of in the middle of the United States towards the south. And I work as a heat transfer engineer for a global energy company. So very, very proud of that and kind of the some of the help I had from Stanford in getting to that place. So let me give you a little, excuse me, let me give you a little bit of an idea about Stanford University for those that may not be familiar with it. The picture in the background is actually a photo from a game that I attended for the Stanford football team, which in 2014-15 was actually doing very well. Just a lot of fun, and it kind of gives you an idea of the size of the stadium for a college campus, which is pretty big, and the amount of people and alumni and friends and families into this stadium to watch the football. So Stanford's located in what's called the Bay Area in Northern California. So to give you an idea, if you're familiar with San Francisco, which is kind of the main city in Northern California, Stanford's about 30 minutes to the south, and it's also about 30 minutes to the north of San Jose and Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley is, this hotbed of technology. A lot of the most impressive innovations and technology has come from this area. So you could imagine that Stanford being so close to Silicon Valley, there's just this pipeline, this funnel of talent that goes from the university to the valley that really connects the campus with industry. And it's amazing to see some of the startups and spin-offs that have come from Stanford to the world because of its proximity to Silicon Valley. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold, so I apologize about that. So just to give you an idea, the graduate profile at Stanford, and I'm not sure what our breakdown is in the audience in terms of undergraduates and those in high school, but I'll talk sort of about my experience as a graduate student. But as the fall of 2016, there were approximately 9,300 matriculated students, and 66% of those are U.S., 34% are international. About 69% are masters, which is the degree kind of I completed. 8% are professional, so that includes like lawyers, students who are studying law, and students who are studying medical professions to be doctors. And then 23 medical doctors. And then 23% are doctoral students who are going for a PhD or a doctorate of philosophy. So those are, for anyone who may not know, and I know this is probably maybe going a little bit too above board, but a PhD is usually a longer term research-based degree that can take anywhere from 4 to 6+ years to complete. I will say Stanford has some of the most competitive admissions in the world, and that's because those graduate departments are in the top 1 to 3 worldwide. So it's very competitive to get in there, but that's because the amount of talent that is focused in the faculty, the amount of money that this university has for research is really top notch. There aren't many in the world that can sort of say that they have a complete package like Stanford does. And yeah, there's research funding allows you to pursue those ideas that you really want. So even if, for example, let me give you an idea, if a lab has a somewhat has something that you want to work on, but they're maybe not going in that exact idea that you have, you can pursue your own funding from Stanford University to receive money to fund that idea. So to really put that research to use. So I would say a big piece of advice, and I'll talk about, maybe touch up upon this later, just because you don't see it doesn't mean you can't make it. That's something I really want to get across. Don't be limited by the options that you have, because the only limiting factor in many cases is your creativity and your willingness to go further. So just keep that in mind, not only for school, but for anything you do in life. So a little bit about my experience. How did I build it? What really was the key to getting to Stanford? And for me, like I said, I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering, and it was a 4-year degree. And not to toot my own horn, but I did pretty well in undergrad. I had my GPAs on there. You can see it's above 3.9. But it wasn't only academics. It was really focusing on those leadership positions in clubs and organizations, and also having a wide range of extracurricular activities. So, for example, I was a part of a social justice club on campus of my undergraduate institution to kind of promote those issues that the campus was feeling, that the country might have been feeling at the time. Really to help underprivileged people. Universities really value that sort of experience and leadership. I was also a vice president. I can talk about the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. So as a Hispanic student, that was something that really appealed to me. So be passionate about what you're doing. I would say a lot of people make the mistake of being involved with too many things. Pick, 1, 2, 3 things, something that you're comfortable with managing, but that you're going to do it passionately, that you're going to do it really well and sink your time in. As well as, just to add a little bit more about my background, I also had 2 internships in the industry. So I worked as in the construction industry as a mechanical engineering intern for 2 summers. And I also did 2 research internships at universities in the US. And I think this is part of what really made me unique compared to some of my other classmates in undergrad, is that I had one at the University of Florida and one at Colorado State University. So these internships, at least from the background in the US, they're designed to allow you to do research at a school that maybe has more facilities or more resources that a small liberal arts school like where I came from might not have that. So it was really neat to be able to work with different funding levels, different laboratories, and kind of work on a project that you can do over the summer in 8 to 10 weeks. So that was pretty neat. And I think, really it was all this package, as well as being charismatic, that allowed me to kind of get into Stanford. I will say I was really go quickly, because I don't know how we're doing on time, but I got a call in January of 2015 that changed my life. It was never forget the day. I wasn't expecting the call, and I was asked to interview for Stanford. Kind of shocked, because it is a dream school. It was always a dream school of mine. And I got a call asking me to come interview at the school and possibly for financial considerations as well, for a scholarship, for an offer. And I sometimes get emotional about it, so please excuse me, but really just a life-changing trajectory that really just, it's amazing how much, resources that this university has, and other universities. It's not the only one, certainly. But just very, very happy and proud that I was able to go there. So let me focus on also some tips for students applying for STEM. We may have people in the audience who are kind of all over in terms of the age levels. So I say this for the young learners, start building those skills early, and it's not only for applications for school, but it's also for building life skills, for building career skills eventually. There are so many, and I know probably a lot of you are already involved in these, but there are so many coding camps out there to teach you different skill sets for coding, especially at a place like Stanford, where, very close to the Silicon Valley. There is a big level of, or a high level of computer engineering and computer science. So the more you can learn, the earlier, the better. It almost becomes, from what I understand, it's like a second language. And so, the earlier you can get to that, the better. I'd also say, make sure that if you're interested in STEM, you start taking those classes in high school that are tailored for STEM. So, take your advanced science courses, your advanced math courses, and take those early on, because the more time you have towards that, the more you can kind of get an idea of if you really like this, and if you really want to focus on this for the rest of your career, for the rest of your life, really. Another tip I'd say is really make the most out of your summer breaks. I know quite a few friends of mine, when they had those high school breaks or college breaks, make the use of internships. See if you can volunteer in a lab, in a research laboratory. If you're interested in medicine, see if you can volunteer at a hospital. They're just, as much as I do want to say enjoy your childhood, because that's certainly very important. If you feel that this is what you really want to do, take the opportunity and reach it, because you will, like I said before, you will go as far as you want to go in life. I truly believe that. Take advantage of those opportunities, and don't get left behind is almost what I'm saying. At the same time, I will say, don't ignore leadership building and extracurriculars. I touched a little bit about that before when I was talking about my experience, but don't be that person that has a 4.0 GPA or on whatever scale it is, where your school is. But don't be that person that has a perfect GPA or perfect marks but has zero leadership, because a lot of these universities focus not only on academics, but on how you will fit in with the community. What will you do to change the mindset of the university? You're going to be part of an application class that has maybe tens, hundreds of people with perfect academics. What differentiates you from others? I tell this to all of the people I mentor through Dyad. When applying to these schools, what will make you stand out? Why should they take the investment? Because it is an investment on their part. Why should they take that investment to take you? So I will speak to that. Also, not only in STEM do you want to focus on, but take advantage of courses in the arts, public speaking, drama, debate. These are all things that not only they make you a more well-rounded person. So, someone that can speak confidently is just better, might be a better fit for the university than someone who can't speak very well, can articulate themselves well. At the same time, I will say, make sure to focus on academics. You don't want to be the person that has a ton of extracurriculars on your plate and then doesn't have the strong GPA, doesn't have the strong marks to succeed at a top university. And of course, get hands-on training if possible. That kind of goes back to my whole idea about the summer breaks, that if you have the opportunity to get in a laboratory, do some research, get that hands-on training with those techniques, those analytical techniques. They have the scanning electron microscopy, the transmission electron microscopy. All those techniques add to your package. Remember, you're trying to sell yourself to the admissions committee as to why you should go to their university, why they should select you. So anything like that can help. I was asked to speak to sort of a typical day of a Stanford graduate student. So I kind of jokingly, you'll notice I put this up because, in the morning I'll start off, wake up, do some breakfast, go to the lab, check in, see how experiments are going, and then go to classes. And then, by that time it's already lunch, and then you go back to the lab, just go back to some more classes, you do more work, got to go to the gym, then back to the lab, homework, relaxing out, go to sleep. I can tell you that almost never happens that way, and that's why I put the big circle with the slash through it, because the cool thing, and I think this is pretty cool, the cool thing about being a graduate student is that almost no 2 days are the same. There's always something that's going to pop up that's going to change your morning, or that's going to change your afternoon. It's pretty cool. And I'll tell you something, a lot of it is the people who come to visit university like Stanford. So you'll have these visitors that come, and you'll want to hear them talk. You might go to a seminar in the morning, or you might go to an afternoon seminar. For example, we had Stanford in 2016 had a Republican congressional leader talk, and Stanford is more of a liberal university, so a lot of people packed in to see him talk and hear his ideas, and kind of see what the difference was, and it's all cool. President Obama, who's our previous president, he came to Stanford and gave a talk. So it's really cool seeing some of these top leaders, not only in politics or in government, but also in science, or film, Hollywood. A lot of Hollywood people come to Stanford as well to kind of check out the campus. So it's pretty cool to see them come and hear them speak, and you'll have all sorts of really cool lunch and learns, what they call, from companies. So because it's so close to Silicon Valley, you'll have Google come in, you'll have Facebook, you'll have all these cool companies come in and kind of give you a presentation. And really, they're trying to sell themselves to you as a student because they want you to come work for them. So it's actually pretty neat. So no 2 days are the same, and so that's why I kind of put this slide up. It's kind of a funny way. So, you know, kind of getting towards the end now, and I want to take a little bit of key takeaways. So, you know, how do you shine at Stanford? First thing is, you know, focus on your studies, labs, experiments. You're there because you earned it. You worked so hard to be there. Keep going. You know, sometimes it can be really daunting and it can seem like there's so much work piling up. There's a lot of stress from courses, from lab and experiments. You know, don't be afraid to ask for help. Your mentors, your teachers, professors, fellow classmates, they can all be a resource for you to really keep going. And you know, Stanford has what they call the duck syndrome. It's kind of weird because if you'll ever notice a duck on a lake or on a pond or something, and you'll notice the duck is kind of you know, waddling around, just kind of swimming merrily, and you know, it doesn't look like it's exerting any pressure. But underneath the water, if you've ever looked at, not that you have, but the duck is actually paddling very, very strenuously, you know, trying to keep afloat. And so they say that because that's how Stanford students are. You know, on the surface, it looks like they're having it easy and they're just enjoying campus and everything. But a lot of your fellow classmates will also be struggling just as much as you. So don't be afraid to ask for help. And that being said, you know, make friends. There's a lot of lifelong friendships that begin in college and graduate school. I have numerous friends that I've made at Stanford that I know I'm going to be in touch with for the rest of my life, just because we went through those difficulties, those challenges together. So yeah, you know, make friends. There's so many opportunities, like I mentioned earlier, to get out there. They have a lot of parties, a lot of social gatherings for you all to just relax and take kind of a break from school and work and lab work. So take advantage of those. Also, you know, as I mentioned, don't just be involved in your classes, but also your extracurricular activities. Join a club, join a group that is maybe focused on something you're interested in outside of courses. Or maybe if you want, you know, if you're passionate about, you know, computer science, join a coding club or something like that. They have those all the time. They have hackathons where you're trying to hack a code into like an industry partner, for example. Facebook hosts hackathons and Intel hosts hackathons, and you're trying to basically hack their code. And, you know, whoever wins gets a huge prize or an invitation to an intern at one of these companies. So, and finally, I will offer this as my kind of one of my biggest pieces of advice is if you ever go to or if you're ever lucky to live in California, go to Stanford or go to some of the other schools, enjoy it while you can. California is by far my favorite state in the United States. It's beautiful weather all year round. The climate's great, like I said, and there's so many activities, so many outdoors activities, hiking. There's a lot of great places to eat, a lot of things that you can do in nature. And, you know, it's got a lot of great cities, San Francisco, as I mentioned, San Jose. And further down to the south, you have like the Los Angeles, San Diego area. So definitely recommend that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I know we're going to go into, I think, Q&A now. So I'm not sure how I did on time. Can everyone still hear me?
Okay, so now, thanks, David, a lot for your sharing about your experience in Stanford, and I hope it helps with the students who are listening right now to step one step further to your journey into your dream school. And now we're gonna start our panel discussion with Greg. So we've collected some questions, and Greg and David will be doing it together, and hopefully it helps. Okay, so Greg.
Awesome. David, thank you for sharing. That was really terrific. Please join me on the call with a little round of applause for this great sharing. Really terrific. The first big question on my mind that I'd love to relay to you and get your insight, how does an engineering education, how is it different at a bachelor's level versus a master's level? Is it similar, and what are those distinctions? And I think you might be muted here. Maybe I can get some help.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, I would say at the bachelor's level, it's really about learning the concepts of engineering, building those problem-solving skills, the critical thinking skills that are inherent to being an engineer. Whereas maybe at the master's level, and certainly even more so at the PhD level, it's more about applying those concepts to problems like, for example, research problems. So, even as a master's student, you're going to be involved in some sort of research if you're looking for it, to where you can really put those concepts you've learned into solving a problem that may not have a solution right now. So, and that's something I definitely, encourage all of our listeners. Don't be afraid to tackle that sort of problem, because you do have the necessary thinking and the necessary skills to take it on. It's just, it's never been done before in many cases. So don't be afraid. A lot of the greatest ideas and technology comes from that sort of challenge. So yeah, that's kind of a baseline, I know in a nutshell how it differs.
Hey, that's great advice. Now, how about for the students that are super inspired right now, listening to your remarks, how can they begin developing themselves to really excel in STEM education in the US?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, it's, STEM is becoming, it's a phenomenon to me, because when I was growing up, I was always just worrying about going outside, playing, having fun. And now I see this really big push to get the younger generation involved in building those STEM skills. So when I mentioned earlier, they have coding camps now for kids. They have hackathons. They have all of these programs that really are meant to kind of give a preview of STEM for maybe a younger audience. And of course, they're tailored to a younger audience. So, if you're, 10, 12 years old, you may not be doing higher level coding as you'll do in college, but it gives you an insight into what it's like, again, those critical thinking skills that are going to be necessary to succeed and enter those STEM programs. So it's kind of taking advantage of resources like those that I think can really prepare students for that entry.
Absolutely. Maybe they're not studying engineering, they're not yet building the STEM fundamentals through their bachelor's course of study. Would you have different advice for how those students can build some of those fundamentals?
Yeah. So it's definitely a different path because, for example, a lot of people who don't have a STEM background may not necessarily have that, what I call the engineer's thinking cap. They haven't been trained to think that way. And it's not that they can't, it's just they've not done it before. So for example, again, one of the things that a lot of people that I know who come from non-STEM backgrounds is they take online courses like you suggested to get that bridge. Excuse me. So for example, they may take what they call coding boot camps. And I keep going back to coding because it's kind of like one of the very established programs that they do. So they'll go to coding boot camps to kind of get that background, get maybe a 10-week course introduction to coding, and that'll really make them stand out to kind of get that in their applications. Excuse me, sorry, I'm again dealing with kind of getting over this, but sorry. Hope that helps. Yeah, I know. It's to stand out. You really have to show that passion. Show the willingness to gain those skills, and that desire to pursue a STEM graduate career path. So,
hey, on the career path, one common question, common concern, particularly among Chinese and other international students, are what are the real career opportunities in the U.S.? If I earn this great engineering master's program, earn this degree, do I have a shot at a real job and at a quality career opportunity in the U.S.? Can you speak a little bit to what you've seen and heard and experienced at Stanford among classes, and if that's cross-applicable to other students at other schools?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say that by far the sort of the most the easiest path, if you will, to getting a U.S. position after graduation is really to complete a PhD, because a lot of people or a lot of companies are looking for PhD level expertise from schools like Stanford or schools like Berkeley or MIT or UCLA, those type of great, flagship institutions in the U.S. And because of some of, the labor laws that we have here in the U.S. and sort of the visa applications for employment, getting a PhD is kind of a fast track to that. I will say that also, again, being in the Bay Area, being next to Silicon Valley, has that increases that opportunity for companies to sponsor you to get a position in the U.S. with a master's degree, or of course with a PhD, but also with a master's degree. So I know numerous students at Stanford that finished with a master's degree that were able to find a position in possibly in a research related or startup related company, which is very appealing to a lot of people just because it's kind of those new frontiers, new challenges company you're building from the ground up. On the other hand, it's also very likely that an established company like General Motors or Ford or Intel or Apple or Google will also sponsor applications for international students. So I definitely think it is more common on the coast, so East Coast, West Coast, because and more so on the West Coast, because it's such a hub for innovation and top talent in the United States.
Hey, awesome. I think that's great advice. So those seeking real careers, continue building those great skills, and then think about masters, even versus PhD as you go forward. That's terrific. I know we have students from all over the world joining our Zoom webinar mastermind today, and I want to give each of you the chance to ask questions of our fabulous featured speaker here. Text box on Zoom to actually type a question. So feel free right now, ask questions on your mind, whether it's developing yourself as an engineer, preparing for STEM, great careers, whatever else. We'd love to hear from you now on the chat box.
好的，现在马上就要进入我们的 Q&A 的环节。然后在大家回答问题之前呢，我们在填报名表的时候已经收集了一些问题，然后我们会先提前回答这些报名表收集到的问题。然后大家有问题的话，也可以先在现在先想好，然后在那个 text box 里面，一会儿就会回答大家的问题。 So yeah, and of course, thanks David for your sharing and answering your question. And I hope that your cold will get well soon. Yeah. So
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Get on to the question that we collected from the registration. Yeah.
Great. The first question here is from Lawrence, and questions for you, David. How does one demonstrate leadership if it's not directly available from the work you do? Any advice if leadership isn't directly available? How might you demonstrate that skill or build it?
Yeah. So let's see. I would say I'll take it from two approaches. So if you're already, have you ever thought about, starting a club or an organization at your school? So, if you're interested in something, let's say I was interested in robotics and that wasn't available at my school. I will I could, if I really want to show leadership, start a robotics club to show that I'm so passionate about that, to show that I'm willing to put in the hard work, put in the investment of time and effort to start that organization. That's one way to show leadership. And it obviously doesn't have to be robotics. If you're passionate about literature, you want to start a book club at your school, by all means, just show something that you're really passionate about and that you're willing to put in the hard work. At the same time, let's just take it from a work standpoint. Let's say you're already working, you're thinking about going to graduate school, you already finished your bachelor's degree, and you're in the workforce right now. So how do you show leadership if maybe you're not at obviously a manager level position? You're an individual contributor. So, take it upon building a procedure for an experiment or building a new way of doing something that hasn't been done before. That's showing leadership. It's showing innovation and creativity. So really, in many of our settings, there's a way to show leadership. It might not be necessarily apparent to all of us, but it's there. Think outside the box sometimes, show these universities, show these admissions committees that you are a leader, that you really want to be at their university, you really want to be at their school, and show them you're willing to put in the hard work.
Great insight. That's awesome. How about our second question here is from Wei, which I think is a really important one. What is more critical to the application, your academic achievement or your personal statement, the essay that articulates more on your background? What would you say is more important?
So this one's a tough one. It's a good question. It's a great question. I will say, your academic achievement is what places you in the conversation. Let's kind of use that analogy. It's what allows you to get your foot in the door. And, now let's say there's 10 of you. You've got all similar academic profiles, top GPAs, came from good schools, good test scores. Your personal statement is what's going to differentiate you from the pack, so to speak. So it's what's going to give an insight into what you're thinking, how how eloquent you are, how you express yourself. So it's how the university knows, okay, for example, David is a great candidate for our school. I think that they would be wonderful to have here, versus this other person who's very well positioned academically, may have just as good test scores as David, or maybe even slightly better, but their personal statement maybe wasn't as strong. It didn't really convey the type of leadership, the type of qualities we're looking for in a member of our university.
Hey, very, very good advice. To recap for those of us listening in here, you got to have both. So it's not really an either or kind of thing, especially if you're aiming for a school like Stanford. You need great academics. Study hard, achieve as strong of marks as you possibly can, And it's not only your GPA, your transcript, but also those test scores. Really, really focus in there. But Dave makes a great point, which is, look, everybody that applies has great academics. And so it's not enough just to have an awesome GPA. You also need a great personal statement, one that conveys that passion, that interest that you have, and what makes you you, what makes you special. All of that's going to help you stand out from the pack. And it's by being you and showing what you can really bring. So that's awesome advice, and want to highlight that for those of us listening in, because I think you really hit the nail on the head there, Dave.
Yeah, thank you, Greg.
The next question is from Lillian, who asks, how can I prepare for an interview? So if I'm being interviewed by an alumni or an admissions officer, how can I best prepare for that?
Lillian, that's also a really good question. And, you know, I'm not being facetious when I say this, but practice. It's really key to practice those interview skills. Have a family member, have a coworker, have someone that you trust that can be honest with you to, you know, ask those hard questions that a admissions counselor or an alumni might ask you. Because trust me, and I went through this, you're going to be nervous the first time. You're going to be, you know, you're going to have anxiety, maybe a little bit of jitters, some butterflies. You know, the best way to kind of quell those anxiousness is to practice beforehand. You know, a lot of you can get typical interview questions. Excuse me. You can get typical interview questions. You can kind of get a feel online for what you think that a interviewer might ask you, and you can practice that beforehand, because that's the more you do, the more you conduct these interviews, the more you're interviewed, the easier it gets. And I'm being just honest when I say that, having gone through so many of them, that it does get easier with practice and time. So that's just one way that I could offer.
Hey, great advice. Find a way to practice, whether that's with a friend, a classmate, a mentor. Get those repetitions. I think you're right on. The first few times you do anything, you're not very good because you haven't practiced much, and you're going to be nervous, you're going to be anxious, but you'll see a lot of improvement. So that's one thing that in interviews that I've both done and participated in, you can tell when someone is practiced because they're polished. And so let's put in those repetitions, put in that hard work to improve step by step by step. I love what you mentioned earlier in your remarks, David, about really building an understanding and then starting to apply that understanding. And that's really the difference between a bachelor and a master, or between someone who's unprepared versus prepared for an interview. So I think that's really, really great advice and very actionable for those of us looking to level up. We can do it.
So are there more questions? 还有更多的问题，最后再等。No question. OK. 因为我们现在时间差不多已经到了，好像我没有收到任何其他的问题的话，那我们的 Q&A 的 session 就在这个地方结束了。So yeah, that's all for the Q&A session, and thanks a lot again, David, for your wonderful sharing today. And I surely hope, and I hope that your sharing can be a great help to those students who are listening, and yeah, they might probably just shine in Stanford one day after hearing this sharing. So great, and yeah, thank you, David, and good luck with your cold. Yeah, and thanks, Greg, again.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, and thanks for bearing with me. Thanks, Greg. Thanks to the Dyad team, and thank you all for giving me this sort of platform to kind of share my experiences and insights. And I really hope this does help someone out there. I think that it's this is a great kind of program that you all are running. And yeah, until the next time.
Yeah.
Awesome. One more round of applause for our mastermind, David Llanos.
Okay. So yeah, so let's. Okay. So now we're gonna, there's still some other information. to share with you guys, and I'll be speaking in Chinese. 然后现在呢，首先我们这页上可以看到，这是一些 ，sorry，what's wrong？OK， 一些 basic information about diet， 然后现在就是我们待会儿在这个讲座结束之后，我们会有一个福利的放送，就是我们待会儿会在这个讲座结束之后会有一个报名表发到我们的微信群里面，在我们的 Diet Webinar Group 里面会有一个表格，然后呢，大家在结束之后可以填写那个表格。那如果是这10分钟之内报名填写的表格之后，你们就可以获得一次免费的咨询服务。然后另外我们还有一个 Lucky Star 我们的 Lucky Star 呢，在我们抽选出来之后，可以获得我们价值3288元的 PS 修改的套餐。所以说你就可以免费得到我们 Diet Mentor 的修改，就可能会收到来自像 David 这样来自于世界顶级名校的 Diet 导师给你来做你的文书修改。所以 we have made a lot of progress in helping students get into their dream school. 然后我们这边有了一些基本的信息，有1900名以上的Diet学员进入了世界顶级大学，并且我们的奖学金申请也是我们Diet做的非常成功的一件事情。我们是已经有超过1亿5千万人民币的奖金。这个在所有的这种类似的 platform 上，我们Diet算是做的非常非常成功的。所以说 ，if you are interested, sign up and get the free lesson, and I'm sure it will help. Yeah. So I guess that's all for today's webinar. 所以大家就待会在微信群当中填写一下报名表。那今天就感谢大家参与我们的 Mastermind Talk. So that's all for today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Say bye to everyone.
Awesome. For those of you listening right now that are having big challenges with your application, let's get started with an application strategy lesson. Your life can be changed forever. I remember when I was applying to Cambridge, very, very stressed out, anxious, confused, didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a path forward. With the right advice at the right time, your life can be changed forever. That's what great mentorship does. That's what we provide here at Diet. We'd love the opportunity to connect with you and share more expert insight, more expertise with you so that you can navigate that path with real confidence. Get in touch today. We're offering a free complimentary opportunity for an application strategy lesson. Don't hesitate. We'd love to connect you with a real mentor for real advice to make a real difference. Jayo. And thank you for joining in.
Yep. Bye. 不要忘记报名哦。See ya.